Man to Man, an authentic conversation with Cedric Edison and Ron Servan. Welcome, listeners. Podcast number 2 with Cedric and Ron. This topic is around the ego. We just wanted to share a little bit about what our intent in going forward is with these podcasts. These are definitely an opportunity for those out there to listen in, contemplate, create some space in your life for opportunities for growth. We really encourage you to add comments if you've watched or listened to the podcast for things we can do better. Obviously, we're not professionals at this. We're just trying to spend some time as authentic men sharing in some conversation about some areas that may be difficult at times for individuals to talk about. And we would really appreciate any type of feedback that we can get from you to grow this with the intent of making the world a better place to live in and to be in. Any women that might be listening in, we would love to hear some ideas or thoughts around some topics that you would like to hear about. Or men, if you've got stories to share, we'd love to hear those that we can share on the air and to discuss. Obviously, with you being involved in that conversation to a certain extent, where we're sharing maybe some intimate or vulnerable areas in your life. So again, feel free to comment, share. Again, the goal of this and intent of this podcast or these podcasts are to really reach out to individuals that are looking for different ways of looking at topics in their life to create change, to create love, to create support, and to really create space for individuals to be the best version of themselves. So with that, enjoy podcast number 2 on the ego.
All right, I guess we can go ahead and get the conversation kicked off. And so I got some interesting question here. Would you care to share what resonates with you when you think of ego?
My ego, to me, can carry on 2 different sides. One area would be an ego where I may look at aspects of myself as being greater than others, or greater than in an area that I might want to move into, or it can also be a lesser version of myself. When I think of ego in general, it represents to me what I sometimes want others to see in me, attributes that I may feel more comfortable with showing or expressing, to where they connect with those more, or something that they feel is maybe a better side of who I am as a person. So when I think about how that is in my life, what I've been more mindful of is allowing myself to not worry so much about how others view different aspects of me, and to allow myself to experience a much more relaxed spaciousness when some of these thoughts about who I am and who I think I am to others comes into my mind. What I've tried to do is create more of a willingness to be curious about those thoughts, not casting judgment on those, and not to allow those to be defining of who I am as a person or as a man. So I acknowledge my ego. I appreciate my ego. And I want to allow my ego to be part of who I am, but not to the point where it creates a division between others and how they experience me.
Okay. Um, so having going through HCI and going live and doing, performing in front of a lot of people, what resonates? Like, how would you see your ego now?
I think what I look like, what the words that I put out there, the things like my sense of humor, where I would use that as more as a safety net versus it being something to use as a positive attribute. I now see myself letting go of that need to feel that completes me when I look at those specific parts of me that I identify with, and I don't feel that the the effects that it has on others is nearly as important to how it affects me as an individual.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay.
All right, Cedric, it's now time to get a little bit insight on you. So share what resonates with you when you think of your ego.
In the present moment, um, I see strong, um, capable, um, and caring and kind and loving and all of those things. But it's almost a two-sided coin, for me, to be honest. Um, because as a coach, we learn to go as far as we're willing our clients to go. So it's always a deep dive inside myself. And at this point, I'm at about a 180. I'm a completely different person. So it poses a lot of fear, not knowing who you are as that person, um, but also being able to go through some of the steps you learn as a coach. It gives me the coping mechanisms to understand that I am a fearless person, um, and that although I am a man, um, that it is okay to love, another man, or just another human, no matter the walk of life. I mean, it doesn't matter. Um, so I mean, those are some of the things that resonate with me, when I think of my ego at this present moment in this place and time. Um, because it causes a lot of other things as well too. Those fears cause you to act different ways. So it could be scary. Well, yeah, those are some of the things that resonate with me and pop into mind.
So Cedric, when you're in a coaching situation and you're working with an individual that has that mindset, that stronger mindset that may be perceived as, an ego, where they're maybe questioning, your ability to coach them in situations that kind of feeling that you've got limited experience, or you don't know who I am, so how can you coach me through these things? Almost a sense of they're better than you type thing, and you can't help me. How might you handle that situation where you've got somebody that you're working with to kind of coach them through that?
Um, the only way a coach can is to get curious about it. But it instantly, it's that curious place to where I go. I have to one ask myself, have I experienced that, and how did I get through it? But to I would try and find a way to see if they can give me an answer to why is it that they feel they need to feel that way, um, to see if it is a mask of an emotion. Um, it's a very thin line not to try and put my own thoughts in it. Um, but that's where, I've been there. So, and I know it's a stressful place. So I would try and figure out what it was that he was attached to, or she.
Hmm. Great.
Well, Warren, why does it seem like the ego wants to take over what we do or what we think?
So I would say for me, um, the ego takes over or wants to take over because we have the tendency to naturally gravitate away from the present moment. We want to worry about or we want to think about or wonder what's going to happen tomorrow, or we stress or struggle with things that were in our past. So we have the tendency to allow the ego to question ourselves, to kind of find reason to um, not believe some of the things that we know are true. We hear these messages of our past that we've learned from, whether it's from our parents or brothers or sisters or just friends in our life. And those messages are we learn from those, and we take those on as almost true, truism. And our willingness to move into the present moment, and that's a challenge in coaching, to where we're speaking with individuals that have different backgrounds, different experiences, different challenges, and they're bringing up very sensitive issues at times. So as a coach, the more present I can be in those moments, and kind of acknowledging and accepting, and checking my own ego at the door when I'm going into my life in general, as well as in my coaching career, that's going to allow individuals to experience that part of who I am, and will allow them to understand or appreciate or value that space that they can create in their own lives or their own situations, to allow for abundance, for optimum growth, for the best version of themselves. um, Again, I think the goal should not be to uh, judge the ego, or to try to get rid of the ego, but the ego is basically it's our putting our experience on our thoughts. So we've got thoughts. We have thousands of thoughts a day. That's a very normal process, and we sometimes try to completely shut off thoughts because they can be very overwhelming. But if we realize they're just thoughts, and they're not real, or there's no value on them unless we put a lot of attention on those thoughts that we have, we can allow those to just be clouds in the sky that just drift through, and our ego tends to kind of follow it along, and becomes less of an impactor, or less in charge of us in our lives, and we don't feel that our egos are keeping us bound to who we might be.
I like that. Um, you just said that the ego likes to follow the thoughts. Um, from the coach's perspective, like how would you deal with that type of situation, or a guy is there and he's very connected to those thoughts. How would you get an individual to understand the concept of a thought is just a thought?
I think when I look at my thoughts in general, and I think it's something that can consistently be applied over others in their lives, a very large portion of our thoughts are not our thoughts alone. They're learned thoughts, and conditional thoughts that we've learned over our life. So if we have a little bit better understanding of the conditioning that we've allowed for ourselves to accept, and live our life by those thoughts that aren't our original thoughts, then we kind of get stuck in that mindset of it's always going to be this way. So I think for me, I would encourage and support, and create a space. The way I do it is through meditation, but others may have different forms of prayer, or ways to kind of take their thoughts, or to create space between those thoughts. So I think for me, the important thing is to acknowledge thoughts, to create space that allows thoughts to be not as um, cumbersome for us, and
Mhm.
to know that we can, or to know that we have the ability to change our thoughts, and to allow for not just looking at life as being, we've got A and B. Why can't we work a little bit harder to create choices C, D, E, and F, and allow for
Right.
different results as a result of our harder effort to make change in our lives. Wow, this is great stuff, man. So Cedric, focus back to you. Why does it seem like the ego wants to take over what we do and what we think?
Um, Honestly, from everything that I've learned up to this point and experienced in my time of occupying space here, um, is it really boils down to fear, um, a lot of times, and self doubt. Um, because when it comes to changing those two things, like, are you hearing self doubt? Obviously, who you think you are, you may be seeming not organized enough or planned enough, or I'm not, I don't have enough education behind me, or whatever. There's never enough of anything, so that ego tends to kick in on, when we face with these changes. Um, which again, going where you are, the thoughts. Once that thought forms, and if we follow that thought, of course, the ego is gonna try and maintain that area that we're in. Um, so it can have a major effect. Because I know that's pretty much what happens for me as well. You know, in life, it's just who I think I am, according to everything that's happened up to that point. When something new is introduced, I can only react to based on what I know, and it can be, it just seems hard sometimes to try and ground yourself in the moment and appreciate it for what it is and just let things go.
Mm-hmm.
you know. So in my opinion, the fear of change and a tough judgment on yourself and your abilities is what seems to make ego take over for me.
Mm-hmm. So you spoke a few times about fear, and fear, I would expect, resonates with most people somewhere in their lives, and fear can be very powerful. Fear can be very overwhelming. Fear can feel very dark. I'm curious to ask you if you consider fear as an ally to you at sometimes for growth in your life.
Oh, most definitely. Um, but at the same, it's a double-edged sword, and you have to tread carefully, because it could be your best ally or it could be your biggest enemy. Um, and I know, speaking for myself, and you, and I know a lot of people listening. Just what was it, a few weekends ago? I know for me that was one of my biggest fears, having to get up and perform in front of 800 people. Um, but I almost wanted to back out. But it was the fear. That fear was, it was a very, very, very thin line to where it was a moment where it would have became my biggest enemy, because I learned so much from stepping through that.
Mm-hmm.
As well as now, I now know, once I've stepped through that whenever fear is present, there's really something on a learning experience and something very liberating on the other side of that as well. Um, but it can be hard to jump off that ledge sometimes. But I can definitely tell you, and I'm sure you can attest to this. There's so much liberation and so many blessings that's on the other side of it.
Definitely appreciate that.
Well, Ron, in what ways do you depend on others to make you happy?
I would say for me overall, I'm a happy person. Um, I do at times struggle with more expression from expression outwardly. I do a lot of I spend a lot of time internally in meditation and kind of self reflection and feeling that sense of happiness within. So I do, I guess, at times feel that that external connection with happiness outside of my life, and how I look to others to maybe create some of that, is an area that is challenging for me. That can even sometimes carry over into my early uh, work as being as a coach. Um, Seeing, gaining that feeling of happiness from others when I'm, which is, like you said, a two-sided sword. I mean, to see how I can influence somebody, in their life in a coaching situation, and create that sense of happiness that also makes me happy, is very, fulfilling, and just an amazing experience to go through. But I think I, at times, don't allow myself to connect at a deeper level with individuals that allows for that external happiness to be more present in my life. So for me, that is part of my work. And the more I work on the inner part of who I am, and as we talked earlier about the ego, and not keeping, not limiting myself, or having limiting beliefs about myself around others. That's kind of moving that curtain, or allowing that curtain to open up to that experience of complete fulfillment, happiness inside and out. So there is, for me, at least at this point in my life, some improvement that is in the works, but not exactly where I'd like it to be at this point, around happiness externally. So I'm feeling that's a willingness of myself to be vulnerable about, and very open and honest with the situation, to know that, again, when we get back to the ego, that the external me being outwardly happy, and making everything at times feel like everything's perfect. I need to check myself and realize, some of that work is my work, not others, to make me happy and to feel fulfilled, regardless of the situation externally.
Okay, okay. And I hate to ask, but I heard something in there. Um, I'm asking the question just so we can go forward with more of our mission. But I heard you say, um, you could make better connections with people to be happy. So what are some things you think you could do, or other people could do, to better make those connections?
I don't think it's so much what other people can do. I think it's my willingness to, and we spoke about this week. I mean, we spoke about this last week about vulnerability, is showing all of me, not trying to keep a cloak around me to only share certain versions of me that allow me to feel like I'm complete, but still having something that I'm holding back on. Uh, so for me, the my work, again, is still around that willingness to be completely whole, and being vulnerable, and allowing myself to share with most people that I connect with at a certain level, to experience, the good and the bad, the ups and the downs, the not just everything's happy go lucky, and that there's no issues within, and I don't give off the feeling that I'm the perfect person. I've got work to do. I'll have work to do the rest of my life, and that's my challenge to myself, to be the best version of myself. And that's what I would, that I do bring to the table in my relationships, more so now, and now into my coaching career.
Okay.
It's just amazing how these questions just to continue to open up my mind. So Cedric, shifting back to you, in what ways do you depend on others to make you happy?
Um, Man, it's a lot of different ways for me. Um, Really, just because most times I'm a quiet person, so just occupying people's space, um, problem free, um, is one way. But honestly, it's in service, is the biggest way. service and gratitude. Um, like I feed on people's gratitude, um, and just in their willingness to be helped. Because it says a lot about a person that can ask, that needs the help and ask for it. And that just kind of makes me happy. If somebody could, if I can witness that. I don't know if it's the best way to be or not, but it is the way I am, and you know, I enjoy it. Um, Hard work. Um, but at the same time, I mean, if I'm to be completely honest, um, there is a void there sometimes, or a wall that I put up, um, to not, fully depend on people for my happiness. It's one of those things where I try to just make sure I'm still in tune to where I don't have to depend on others to make me happy, because I feel like that could also be, a major downfall, and if you become dependent on it, on others to make you happy.
Okay. So in a coaching situation, how do you, what are the defining moments for you when you are working with a client and you see them, moving into a space that they're unfamiliar with, and they're gaining that confidence in themselves, and they're feeling that excitement, but they've got a lot of work ahead of them. So you're feeling that sense of happiness and from them and through them. How do you, kind of push them to that next level, knowing that they've made several steps forward, and there's that building excitement around, kind of moving forward, but knowing that there's going to be those challenges ahead? How do you as a coach, look to challenge those individuals to stay the course, and to not, sabotage themselves, and to, allow themselves to, keep moving in the direction they need to go in?
Um, for me, one of the things I like to do with my clients is, periodically we will check in. Um, Even, if they're doing well or even if they're falling off. Um, because the way I look at it is if we're in this session, we're one session past where we used to be. So obviously there's been some type of change from, day one to day 5 to day, 76. Um, but to constantly keep it in the mind that, hey, we have come, from point A to B to wherever we are now, and we've made some strides. So that is something to look, to keep in mind, and to actually, periodically check in on why are we even doing what we're doing, and to just be happy about the fact that, hey, even if we did fall off, for meeting a goal, we're still here, and we still have a little bit more time, as long as we have time to make a different, to make a difference or to make a change. And so it's not, don't get hung up on the bad. As long as you're making any momentum forward, or even if you're still in the same place, or even if you fall back, there's always something we can learn and grab a hold to and move forward to be happy about.
Excellent.
What are you most proud of, Ron?
For me, I would say that I'm the most proud of being a very committed, passionate, dedicated man in my life. Um, Married for 31 years to my wonderful wife, um, my son who's 12 years old. So we kind of went a different route in life. We had my son after being married for 20 years. Um, So my career, where I currently work with the city of San Marino here in California, I'm 33 years into that, and getting near retirement. So what I'm most proud of, and most, feeling the best about overall in my life, is my willingness to be very dedicated, to be very committed to the course that I'm taking in my life. So now that I'm moving in a different direction of being a life coach and health coach, um, again, the smile comes to my face knowing that I'm now going to be able to carry over years of public service and helping others and being a role model and helping residents that live in a beautiful community to have a better place to live, to enjoy services provided, to enjoy all aspects of their life in a city that's their home. So now moving again into a new career of coaching others, I just feel still that desire to stay committed and stay passionate and maintain my level of energy and excellence to give people what they deserve and what they are yearning for, and to allow them to grow for the rest of their lives. I'm not one that feels that there's a point in your life where there's a downfall or a movement towards the opposite direction of like a peaking point in my life. I'm on a daily basis just working very hard to be the best version of myself, to not accept areas that I'm vulnerable in or lesser in at this point in my life, but to know that I'm going to continue for the rest of my life having that desire and commitment and passion, which I've definitely feel is one of my defining attributes about myself. So I would say that those three or four words that I've used over several times there in the in the statement, that's what I'm most proud of.
Okay, and I have no follow-up question.
A very profound question indeed. So, Cedric, now back to you. What are you most proud of?
Two things. I'm very, very proud of earning the title of United States Marine, of course. I'm proud that I've actually took the step to invest in myself, which led to me becoming a life coach and health coach. As well as I'm proud that I'm about to be a papa. Scary as it is. Those are the major things, because each of those, I'm proud of a lot of different things, but those are the major things that stick out over the progression of my life. Of course, there's a lot that I'm not proud of. No regrets, because it has led me to where I'm at. But those are the major things. And and one weird thing, I'm proud of myself now. I've gotten back in touch with my emotions. I'm a crybaby now. I can look at movies and cry, and I can hug a man and cry, saying goodbye, and meet people I've never met and like literally miss them. So I'm really proud of all of that, and that I'm getting more in tune with the universe and with God, in a whole, because I'm feeling more of a connection to people, and to the world, just like a oneness.
Yeah, and I think Cedric, for me, I can't leave out how proud I am of us as individuals that are doing what we're doing now. And I think Cedric and I both, went into this with the mindset that, we're committing to an ongoing conversation between two authentic men that had, what, 5 months ago had no knowledge of each other, period. And now here we are, hundreds of miles apart, in different areas of the United States, having a conversation as if we were, have been connected through our whole lives. So I'm very proud of our willingness to, push our agenda forward with each other as men, and in hopes to reach out to, you folks that are listening in, to provide, some, just, I guess, some different thoughts and different ideas and different experiences that may help to give you the reasons, or give you reason to look in your life, to allow yourself to be vulnerable, to acknowledge and accept and appreciate and work with your ego. And there's going to be other topics we're going to talk about as well, but I am very proud of what we've done to date. So
Yeah, definitely. It makes me think, man, like, honestly, like, from the heart, I would really, really be proud of anybody that shared this, even if it didn't resonate with them, and anybody that I'd be proud of if they, want to ask a question or want to bring up a topic and might be on the fence about it. But hey, step through it. Just throw the question up there, throw the comment, feedback. Don't be afraid. I'll be very proud of anybody that gives us feedback or any kind of type of guidance or interaction. That's love to me. So definitely proud of that, and appreciate everybody that's tuning in, listening.
All right, Cedric, and all out there listening, we'll talk to you next week.
Yeah. Now, what do we got next week? I think family.
Fatherhood.
Yeah, fatherhood. There we go. I know something with the now stereo. Yeah, we got fatherhood. That's going to be a very interesting one. Me on the cusp of being a dad. So yeah, I'll be on the lookout.
Yes, and I would ditto what Cedric said. We're going a little bit longer this week, but we're looking to allow for space with everyone out there that's listening to provide information to us that would allow us to give you the best information or best experience that we can allow for. So allow the comments to flow in, good and bad. Good night.
Yeah, and please don't feel like this is just for men. This is our intent is to reach any and everybody. It's just two men that happen to be having a conversation, but this is for women, Muslim, Christian, it doesn't matter, gay, transgender, whoever is out there. I mean, we're just trying to put some positive thoughts out there that just happens in the everyday life with that topics that cross just your average Joe men that just so happen to become health coaches and cross paths in this universe. So, don't, there's, any and everybody. It's for everybody.
Awesome. All right, Cedric and all, we'll talk next week.
All righty. Hey, appreciate y'all. Namaste.